Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Mike.
And we are talking a little bit more about tunnel building.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really an expert on tunnels at all.
No, you don't have an engineering degree.
I
you
do
haven't
not.
built tunnels all over the world.
No.
You've been in a tunnel.
I have.
So you're sort of an expert.
Well, I know what it feels like to be a passenger in a car in a tunnel or in a bus, on a train. I've even walked through tunnels.
Okay.
Where there's a little sidewalk where people can walk. And,
that's always a weird feeling.
Yeah, it's a little scary sometimes. Where was that? That was on Tucheng. Okay. Tucheng, over by the Far Eastern Hospital, there's a little, very short tunnel.
Okay.
Do you ever go out there?
Not usually, but
yeah, sometimes I go out there to visit a coworker.
Oh,
His name is Brian. We go out there and record music sometimes. But yeah, I've been in my share of tunnels, but I don't know anything about building them, so this has been interesting.
Well, if you ever want to know about building them, all you have to do is watch Discovery Channel.
That's true.
They have dozens of tunnel building shows, and they're kind of interesting, but you realize it's sort of big engineering, but not really complicated engineering.
Oh, yeah?
And they have these wonderful things called TBMs, which stands for Tunnel Boring Machine.
Ooh.
Which kind of works like a giant earthworm. It basically just eats into the earth and builds the tunnel behind it.
Does it go up and down or sideways?
No, it goes straight into the earth like a worm going into an apple.
Wow.
And once they're done, they actually just bury the machine inside the tunnel. They don't take it out again. Yeah, so if you buy one, you're using it, and then the idea is you're just basically going to sort of throw it away.
It's a disposable
Well, they're
piece
so
of equipment.
big, you can't really move them from one place to another, right? If you build your tunnel in Taiwan, you're not going to put it on a boat and send it, sell it to people in Japan or something.
It seems like before this worm machine was
TBM,
invented, didn't they use dynamite to blow up,
dynamite
portions of
and
mountains?
hand tools.
Was that would be hard.
They built some
That's
of the
slow,
tunnels up until the maybe 1940s or 1950s. Yeah.
TBM, no.
Yeah, TBMs are the way they do it now. And actually, we're going to be reading about one of the first big projects that use these TBMs. They actually used a couple of them, and I believe they're still buried under the ground. So let's find out more about digging into tunnel building and one of the most important tunnels of the last 30 or 40 years. The Channel Tunnel is perhaps Europe's most iconic tunnel. It's located beneath the English Channel and connects the UK and France. Before it opened, people traveled this route by ferry. In times of bad weather, it could be a bumpy and unpleasant journey. Thus, people suggested building an underwater tunnel to save travelers some trouble. In 1802, a plan to build a tunnel was brought forward by French engineer Albert Mathieu Favier. The famous French leader Napoleon loved the idea and backed Mathieu Favier's plan. The British, however, believed Napoleon planned to use the tunnel as a cunning way to attack England and avoid facing the powerful British Navy. Eventually, in 1984, the UK and France revisited the idea of the tunnel. They held a contest asking companies to propose plans for the construction and financing of a channel tunnel. The winning plan involved building 2 parallel railways and a service tunnel beneath the English Channel. One side of each tunnel would be built from France and the other side would start from England. The hardest task was making sure that both sides of the tunnels would meet in the middle. At that time, this wasn't certain because the available technology was somewhat limited. However, things worked out, and in 1990, the French and British linked their service tunnels together. Although there was still more work to be done, people celebrated because, for the first time ever, the UK and France were officially linked. In 1994, the Channel Tunnel was finally opened to the public. It cost $15 billion and took 6 years to complete. Although it wasn't cheap, anyone who's used the Channel Tunnel would agree that this engineering marvel was worth every cent.
Okay, guys, we're going to talk about one tunnel that's quite famous. We're calling it iconic. Yeah, I remember the first time I got to go through this tunnel. I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. I remember watching how it was built on TV, thinking, how in the world do you do that? It's underwater and scary.
Yeah, and that moment when they actually broke through and connected the tunnels, and you had the famous image of the French worker reaching through a hole and shaking hands with the British worker. It was pretty impressive,
Very
incredible.
Cool.
And, they didn't have, we're going to talk about this, but they didn't have GPS back then, really. So figuring out how to get the tunnels to actually meet in the middle and not be off slightly was quite an amazing challenge. So, yeah, the Channel Tunnel, or the Chunnel, as some people call it, is
I even heard that. That's cute.
Definitely iconic. Iconic, of course, meaning important and famous and noteworthy and, really something a little bit special in the world of tunnels in this case.
Oh, very special.
So where is the Channel Tunnel for those of you who haven't quite figured it out yet?
I think we know the answer.
I think we do.
Just look at the next sentence, guys. It's located beneath the English Channel and connects the UK and France together. So beneath something just means it's underneath something or directly underneath. In this case, it's actually in the water. I used to think, how in the world is this ever going to work? It used to be kind of a pain going from UK to France.
Yeah.
I remember that. And when this was completed, it made life so much easier. Okay, it's not quite the same as having the tunnel that takes you quickly to Elon. That's pretty cool. This is a bigger deal, and it was such an amazing feat. Feat here is an F-E-A-T, an accomplishment that was very tricky and very impressive when they finished this for sure. So it's located beneath the English Channel and connects these two countries. Maybe you can look down currently. Maybe there's something beneath the desk that you're sitting at, beneath our table that we're sitting at.
Your legs?
Yeah, my legs. There's really nothing going on. We've got a hardwood floor. There's really not much beneath this table, Mike, but maybe you've got something beneath your table at home that's more exciting. Sometimes if you have a pet, they'll often sit beneath the table or beneath your feet because they want to be near you.
Yeah, beneath is very similar to under, all right? So we're talking about something that is below or at a lower level. Here, though, when we talk about it being beneath, it means it's actually under the ground, all right? So we're talking about like a mine. You could say a mine or a cave might lead beneath the earth. Or if you're talking about special boats, a boat like a submarine is an unusual boat because it travels beneath the ocean surface, under the surface of the ocean. And tunnels, as you probably know, do go beneath the surface of the earth. They go beneath the ground level where we normally walk around. Now, yeah, as you mentioned, Stephanie, before the Channel Tunnel opened, to cross this channel, which is a narrow stretch of water separating the island of Britain from the European mainland and France, which is closest across the channel, before, people would travel, obviously, by ferry. A ferry is a type of ship or boat, kind of like a bus service, really.
Yeah.
It travels probably a short distance from one side of a river or one side of a lake or one side of a channel to the other. So that's how people used to go. If you wanted to go from London to Paris, you could either fly or you could take a train or drive down to a port or a harbor, a place on the coast, get on a ferry and go from, say, Dover to Calais, Dover being in England, Calais being in France, and that was the narrowest point, but there are many other ways. But ferries are boats, so they're definitely not as fast as cars or trains. And when the wind blows and it gets a little bit unpleasant there, it can be bumpy and, as it says, unpleasant. If the weather gets bad, traveling by ship or boat is not so much fun.
Yeah, you'll get seasick. I remember the first time I went on the ferry, I got so sick I did throw up.
Yeah,
so
people do.
You need to be prepared for that if you're ever on a ferry. I used to live in New York City, and if you go from Manhattan Island to Staten Island, you've got to take a ferry.
People still do that today, don't they?
I've never thrown up on that ferry. It's pretty quick.
It's pretty short, and you're in a river, which is less likely to be
very quick,
very bumpy.
Oh, but yeah, if you're in the channel, woof. Also, that channel, before we got this tunnel, I remember, I think people still do it. There'll oftentimes be athletes who will want to swim from one end to the other. Not easy, guys, but people like challenges. If it's bumpy, it's a word that means not smooth. You've probably been on a road before, and either on a scooter or car, and you kind of bounce up and down.
Like
That's
a dirt
bumpy.
road in the country or
Not
a mountain
good.
road or something like that can be not so comfortable to travel on.
Totally. And unpleasant, just it means it's not very fun.
Not enjoyable.
Yeah, no.
I don't like this.
Maybe there's some discomfort involved. For me, of course, I was just sick, and throwing up is a bad feeling.
That's unpleasant, too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Some people get air sick. Some people get car sick. I get all of those.
Oh, my gosh.
So I try to prepare in advance. I'm flying on a plane unless they start circling the airport. And then it's bad.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. Sometimes you can't land when you're supposed to. So it says here in the last sentence of the first paragraph, thus, people suggested, hey, let's build an underwater tunnel to save travelers some trouble. It wasn't going to be easy to build this underwater tunnel, but if they could do it, would everybody be so much happier going from UK to France?
That's right. But it's a big thing to go from an idea to actually making it happen.
Totally.
And like a lot of times in history, people had ideas for things way before they were really possible. I mean, we think of Leonardo da Vinci, designing a helicopter that he couldn't possibly have made, but they had the idea, or the first computers. People had the idea of a computer, but they didn't have the way to really make it work until much later. And this is quite similar. So way back, people probably had this idea hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but it was first looked at seriously about 200 years ago. In 1802, a plan to build a tunnel was brought forward by this French engineer, Albert Mathieu Favier. To bring something forward is to basically suggest. All right, you have an idea. You're not sure if it's a good idea or a bad idea, but you want to kind of talk about it. You want to mention it to other people, see what they think. They can discuss it. They can say, great idea, or good idea, but you could make it better. Or that's a terrible idea. What are you, crazy? But you don't know until you bring it forward, until you suggest it. And then other people can sort of discuss it and see what they think. So this guy had the idea, and he went to the most powerful person in France at that time, the great Napoleon Bonaparte, the great emperor and general who was in control of France back in the early 1800s. Napoleon didn't like the English, and he was thinking of attacking. So for that reason, and maybe others, but probably mainly that reason, Napoleon loved this idea. He was thinking, hey, if I can march all my soldiers underground and pop up in England and surprise them, that would be a much better way of attacking that country.
A good surprise attack, for sure.
A very good surprise attack.
Yeah, I wanted to mention you could also use the word forth, brought forth.
Ah, yeah.
Forth. He suggested something. That's amazing. I'd never heard this before, that someone had this idea.
There's an interesting old drawing from the time.
Really? Oh,
and
cool.
It has like a metal tunnel, and you see all these little horses and soldiers
going
lined
through
up,
it.
marching very orderly. And the British boats up above on the water are completely unaware of this dastardly French attack, sort of idea.
I think they probably noticed them building it after.
They probably would have heard about it. Yeah.
So anyway, you've got Napoleon. He loves this idea. It says he backed his plan. If you back a plan, you support it, guys. The British, however, believed that Napoleon planned to use the tunnel as a cunning way to attack England. Yeah. You're doing something cunning. It's not just smart. It's a little bit evil, a little bit tricky. You're trying to deceive someone.
Sly.
Yeah, cunning. I don't think it's completely negative idea or negative adjective.
Depends.
It depends on who you're talking about.
And what you're doing it for.
Yeah.
Are you being cunning because you want to surprise your friend with a great birthday party?
No, that's a good thing.
Well, that's a good thing. If you're being cunning because you want to steal money from someone,
that's a bad thing.
Crime, and you should go to jail.
Yeah, that's right.
But, in the movie, when the bad guy is thinking of his plan and he's rubbing his hands together.
And he twists his mustache, and his fingers.
I have a cunning plan.
Yeah.
So he's going to be tricky and smart to get his way. They thought that this was a great way to have a surprise attack, which would be a cunning attack. And of course, at the time, the British Navy, the British boats, with their
they were very strong.
Sailors and soldiers, they were very strong. So Napoleon knew that he couldn't go across by water, so a cunning plan was needed.
Okay, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back to continue talking about tunnel building, especially this channel tunnel. Right now, though, we're going to listen to our very, very bright Chinese teacher. We'll be back.
Hi, everyone. My name's Jenny. 今天我们要来继续看这一篇文章，我们要谈世界最困难的工程之一，那就是隧道工程。我们提到了隧道它的用途，隧道它的发展，当然在现在我们谈到建筑学来说， 隧道工程非常的重要。今天要谈的就是欧洲最具代表性的隧道 The Channel Tunnel， 就是我们知道连接英国跟法国的英法海底隧道。谈到这条隧道，当然我们要知道在以前没有这个隧道的话，要怎么过呢？当然会搭渡轮 ferries， 可是这个渡轮当然就会受到天候的影响了。所以这边注意到他写到 in times of bad weather， time 当然它如果当可数名词会加 s 的时候，往往就是在指时期。我们常讲 have a good time， 这个 good time 的 time 当然就是一段时间。所以当你说 in times of， 就是指在什么样的时期。这个地方来说，当你讲的是天后天气不好的时候，那这就很辛苦了，非常的颠簸，非常的不愉快。好，所以当然如果能盖一个隧道，就能够解决这种问题了。那就谈到这个英法海底隧道，其实早在1802年的时候，就有工程师提出这个建造的计划。当时呢，拿破仑呢，他是很支持的。我们看到他用的这个字 back， B-A-C-K， 它本身也可以当动词，可是当动词的话，要记得哦，这个意思像在这个地方就是相当于 support， 或者是说 sponsor， 拿钱出来赞助来支持。所以他是很支持这个计划的。不过在另外一方面，英国人可就不这样觉得了，他们担心的是国防问题。他们认为拿破仑当然是有野心的，要盖这条隧道可能只是为了方便攻击英国而已吧。如果有了这条隧道，当然我们知道英国的海军是很强大的，所以他们认为法国这么做有别的目的。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi guys, welcome back. We are talking about, of course, the Channel Tunnel, which connects the UK and France together, and how it was an idea that was actually thought of a long time ago. But they didn't have the technology, the techniques to do it.
Or the money, probably.
Yeah, the money. Yeah.
It would have been very expensive.
Yeah. But it's probably a good thing, because Napoleon, if he'd been able to accomplish this, would have ended up killing more people in England.
Well, sure, or if he'd built it or someone had built it, later on. Think of what the Germans under Hitler in World War II would have. They were in a similar situation. Yeah. They were there in France, and only the channel, that water, was separating them from Britain. So, back in history, Britain was not too keen on this idea. They liked having that water between them and the crazy French or dangerous Germans or whatever at the time. But then things got better, right? Peace broke out. The relationship between all these European countries became a lot nicer, more friendly, no more wars. So eventually, in 1984, the UK and France revisited the idea of the tunnel. When you revisit, it basically means you go back to somewhere. Now, you can physically revisit a place. I stayed at this great hotel last year. I want to go back. So you're kind of revisiting the place that you went on holiday. But you can also revisit an idea or something like that. An idea that came along, like maybe last weekend. You were like, hey, we should go to the beach. But then it started raining and you're like, oh, forget it. Let's just go see a movie. But then if later on it's nice again, you'll revisit that idea. Hey, remember we were going to go to the beach? Let's do that this weekend. So you're doing it again. You're bringing it back. So they came up with this idea in 1984. Let's do a tunnel for real this time.
Now, this time they held a contest, which is always fun, and they asked different companies to bring forth or bring forward or propose plans for the construction and financing of a channel tunnel. Construction is a word we use when we're talking about building something, but typically, guys, it needs to be kind of big, like a big building or bridge. When I'm building my IKEA table or putting together my IKEA table, I don't use the word construction. I'm constructing this. No, use it for bigger things. And financing is when you actually are trying to pull together the money you need to pay for something that's quite large. Financing, you could maybe get financing from the government to build something.
Your rich grandfather?
Yeah, or maybe you or a company. and you have rich relatives. You go to them for financing. Maybe they're going to finance your college tuition.
Or a new business or helping you to buy a home or something like that.
So you're lucky if you have that. So it's just getting that money, the financial support you need to accomplish something. Now, the winning plan, remember, it's a competition, involved building 2 parallel railways and a service tunnel beneath the English Channel. So if you're talking about something that's parallel to something else, it runs side by side, right? Parallel paths.
Yep, like train tracks.
Yeah, maybe you've followed in your father's footsteps, your mother's footsteps, and you have parallel careers. Your careers are very similar to each other. Well, these are parallel railways, a side-by-side, and a service tunnel beneath the English Channel.
Yeah, parallel lines are 2 lines that run equal distance apart but never meet. So kind of like train tracks or like an equal sign. Think of an equal sign that you use in math. Those 2 lines, one above the other, they're straight, they're flat, and they're the same distance, and they never, ever meet. So they have these parallel railways and a service tunnel. So one train can go from France to England at the same time. Another one goes from England to France, and the service tunnel would be for workers or emergencies or other things like that. One side of each tunnel would be built from France, so they start one in France, and the other side would start from England. So they're basically building the tunnel from both ends to make it half as long or half as fast for the tunnel to be finished. And the hardest task or the hardest challenge was making sure that both sides of the tunnels would meet in the middle. Imagine kind of just closing your eyes and trying to get 2 of your fingers to point together in space. You'll probably get them close, but will they be exactly one on top of the other? It would be a challenge. Now imagine doing that over many kilometers underground in the dark, digging a tunnel. Not easy. It says at that time this wasn't certain because the available technology was somewhat limited. It would be easier today because today we have GPS. We can find out where we are even if we're underground, and we have a lot of technology, computers, things like that. The available technology, this is basically the machines and technology they had back then. Because something is available, it's there to be used. You can use it if you want. You don't have to, but if you want to, if it will make your life easier, go ahead. If there's an empty seat on the bus, that seat is available. If you want to sit there, you can, but you don't have to. When we say available technology, we're just talking about the machines and technology that they have at that time. For example, right now, today, there is no available technology to allow us to travel through space quickly, right? If you want to fly to Mars, it's going to take months. So available technology to travel like they do in Star Wars movies, no, we don't have that.
However, things worked out. Yay. If things work out, they turn out successfully. You could say, oh, our marriage didn't work out. Maybe a couple had to get divorced. No, hopefully it does work out. And in 1990, the French and British connected their service tunnels together. Although there was still more work to be done, people celebrated because for the first time ever, the UK and France were officially joined or linked, which is fun. In the last paragraph, in 1994, the Channel Tunnel was finally open to the public. Cost a lot of money, but based on what things cost today and how long things take to complete, I would say they did a pretty inexpensive job.
Yeah.
And it happened quite quickly. It took 6 years to finish. It wasn't cheap, but anyone who's used the Channel Tunnel, and both of us have been through it, have used it, would agree that this engineering marvel, it's kind of a miracle, I think, was worth every cent.
There you go.
Yeah,
Think of all the money it's saved in like moving things from England to France and stuff. So
totally.
$15 billion, it's paid itself off many times over.
I think so. Great investment. Okay, guys, we're going to listen one more time to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back to say goodbye.
那我们继续来谈这条英法海底隧道 The Channel Tunnel 它的建造历史。一开始我们就说了，从1802年开始，再来就是1984年的时候，英法两国他们又在重新思考这个计划，他们想办法，这个办法就是办一个比赛，而这个比赛当中呢，他们要的计划就是说，你下面要盖出什么2条 parallel railways， 我们知道 parallel 就是表示平行的，所以你这个海峡下方要盖2条平行的铁路，还有1条维护的隧道。那我们就来谈这个隧道怎么盖的。他提到说呢，这个隧道啊，有一边是从法国建造，另外一边是从英国开始。当然我们知道，当你 讲这两边只有2，你的一边是 one， 当然另一边就是 the other。注意到这个用法。接下来呢，就提到最难的部分，就是说，你要确定这两边中间的时候会真的能够相遇哦，不会错过哦，不会接不起来哦。不过这个在当时来说，可能在工程技术上是有限的。这边他提到他的工程技术 was somewhat limited， 也就是说有那么一点受限。不过呢，还好问题都解决了。所以呢，我们看到时间的线，我们从1802走到1984，现在走到1990年。那到1990年的时候呢，英法呢真的就把他们这条 service tunnel 然后联系在一起了。不过尽管这样子来说，我们也要知道这个工程真的是很艰辛，所以人们在他知道这个维护隧道整个真的成功了，当然一定要庆祝，这是有史以来英法第一次结合在一起。那我们注意到这里有一个用法，强调 the first time ever。 我们来看一下 ever 这个字。 ever 它其实呢用法当然有不同的情况，大家也许在表达曾经的时候会说 Have you ever seen somebody？ 这种 ever 的用法是一种，在这里 the first time ever 这个 ever 是一种强调的语气，它常常跟最高级摆在一起，跟叙述第一最后摆在一起。当你说 the first time ever， 我们为了强调它，翻译就会说这是有史以来的第一次，前所未有。接下来时间的线，我们到了1994年。1994年，这时候英法海底隧道就向民众开放，而花了这么多钱、这么多时间完成了这条隧道，真的大家还是很同意说是值得的。所以它最后一个片语 worth every cent， 有时候我们是说 worth every penny， 意思都一样，每一分钱都花得很值得。好，我们今天的讲解就到这边结束，谢谢您的聆听。
Thanks for joining us, guys. We hope you learned a little bit more about some of the cool tunnels out there. And I'm sure some of our listeners have an interest in actually becoming engineers.
Yeah, or maybe just the next time you're driving through a tunnel, take a look around and appreciate what an amazing engineering accomplishment it is.
True. Okay, guys, that's it.
Yep.
For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Mike.
See ya.
See you underground.